Hello and welcome back, everybody. Today I am drinking a Crown Apple on the rocks, just keeping it really, really simple. It looked good and I did it. So that's what I'm doing. Ben, what do you got since you're laughing, chuckling at me?
I just my doing the Glen Kimchi straight up, a little bit chilled. It's still pretty good. I've never really noticed anything about drinking a drink straight up. A difference, and maybe just my limited palate. Kind of tangential to that, I recently went to a concert, and the hotel I stayed at actually had this on the menu as a orderable drink. I was like, that's the first time I've ever seen it in the wild. I thought it was pretty neat.
Nice.
And just a review of the security at the concert, it was kind of interesting. If basically, unless you had ground floor tickets, they didn't care where you sat. No one checked anything. You could go wherever you wanted. But if you tried to go to the ground floor without the purchase, they had big people checking everything. So that was kind of fun. What are you drinking, Jonathan?
Well, I don't know if it's just trashy or what, but I'm drinking hard Mountain Dew.
Woo!
How is it?
Yeah.
It's sugar-free, 0 sugar. But after about 2 cans, you're feeling pretty good, and you want another.
Now, does it have caffeine in it? Or is it?
I don't think
like Crunk juice.
We're not recreating Four Loko here.
I was about to say they're trying to compete with the Four Loko market.
Or the, what was it, the Panera lemonade that's got caffeine in it that got some guy sick?
Yeah, and they have a warning on that now that, like, you know, this has caffeine. Don't just go crazy.
Well, you got me curious if it's got No, it's caffeine-free.
Oh, okay.
Sugar-free, caffeine-free? That's practically a health drink. Just kidding.
Only 5% alcohol.
Oh yeah, that's nothing. That's lawn mowing beer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Tony,
That's
what do you
breakfast in
have?
some countries, isn't it?
Absolutely. Tony, what do you got?
I'm keeping it simple this episode, too. Just got a maker's mark on the rocks.
Nice.
That time of year. Just ready to wind down and hibernate most evenings.
Definitely.
True
Yep. Sun's gone at like 6 p.m. Yeah. It's funny. Summer's out, sun's out, nice, warm and everything, and I'm in here huddled around a computer. Whenever it's dark, I'm going to stay here huddled around a computer and complain about how dark it is. There have been some breaches going on. Hold on to your breeches. We're going to talk about breaches.
You mean for a change? There's been breaches? What?
No, it's crazy. So we got a couple to talk about. The first one is the Toyota breach. So I guess some malicious actors got names, addresses, bank routing info, all that fun stuff, and said they wanted, I don't know, read this online somewhere, it was like $8 million or something like that, and Toyota said, nope, we don't pay ransoms.
We don't have $8 million. I mean, we don't pay ransoms.
Like, increase the price of the Camrys. We gotta make $8 million. So yeah, they didn't pay the ransom. So all that stuff's out there now.
And isn't there some vehicles too that they require location data because of a settlement on cars that were driving, or they wouldn't stop or something like that when you hit the brakes or something. I thought there was something.
Oh yeah, that was like the Prius or something. Yeah. They were. I guess they were very. They knew exactly what got stolen. So I didn't see anything about location data or.
Sounds like an inside job.
But it did include like international bank account numbers. That seems significant.
Yeah, that one kind of hurt. Yeah, I'm a big fan of not paying ransoms. Well, I own a Toyota, so I'm like, oh, well, I kind of needed you to pay that ransom, but that's all right. That's all right. I'll just take another one of those free couple years of cybersecurity breach protection insurance cards. Go ahead and clip my card, punch my card.
So on that, how valuable is routing and bank account numbers? Because if you've ever written a check, I mean, you've handed that to grocery stores, mailed it to doctor's offices or whatever several times, and it has your account and routing number on it.
Good point.
It's like with everything, right? It's not that any one piece of information is the silver bullet. It's once you're able to start correlating all these things that are sort of semi-public, right? Because you get bank account information here, maybe a social security number over there, you got a home address, and you start putting stuff together.
Sounds like they need a subscription to Splunk.
Well, that's going up.
Yeah, that was my segue.
But who didn't see that coming?
Yeah, I mean,
Up the ROI on an investment, right?
yeah, I forget how many billions they paid for it, but that was pretty quick to announce a 10% increase.
They got it. Now it's time to make some money.
Well, I can't wait to hear about all the improvements they've made.
Well, yeah, I mean, you make a ton of changes within the first 6 months that you own a company, so.
Yeah, now that logo is now includes the Cisco bridges.
Well, we got another breach to talk about too. So, Jonathan talking about collecting a bunch of data, 23andMe or whatever that service is, the DNA service.
So they correlate your DNA personal information with that, with the bank account information they got from Toyota.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now they can just basically recreate you.
Yeah.
Oh, true.
They're like, it's not hacking, you did it.
All right, so you can't buy anybody a Toyota for Christmas. You can't give them a 23andMe subscription. Who hasn't been breached? What are the safe companies to buy from anymore?
That's a good question.
Your local farmer's market.
I was
right.
going to say, go to your local farmer's market and buy everyone some cookies with cash.
That's all these terrorists are doing. They're just driving up they're just trying to help the local economy.
They're pro small business.
That's right. Well, has the hard Mountain Dew, has that been breached? Do we have that?
I'm not sharing.
There you go. Booze is a fair gift to give. They never collect personal information, right?
Oh, it's true. Yeah.
Is there a commonality in these breaches? Like, do we know what organizations or have perpetrating these? Have they released who did it or who's taking credit for it?
That's a good point. Let's see. I don't know if it's going to be. I don't know if it's. I don't know if we're too soon to actually get that information, or.
I've not seen anything published, but I've been curious myself. How did it happen? But I figured it'd probably be months to a year or two till we'd actually find out.
Yeah, the 23andMe one I thought was interesting because for the longest time I was like, "There's no way I would want to do that because what if they get breached,
Yep.
or what happens when they get breached?" Is what because it's going to happen. 6.9 million of its members.
Wow.
And that was just 10% or 0.1% of their accounts. Personal information of about 6.9 million of its members. We're only able to get 14,000 accounts, so I guess it's like families' number one account kind of thing.
Oh yeah. I didn't think about I was gonna make a joke about Netflix being breached. Like, yeah, there were only like 6,000 accounts that were breached. That's like 40,000 people.
Right. Yeah, there's no information on who did that, but that happened on the 5th of December, 2023.
So you guys do that too? You have like because I know like the MGM, like whenever that stuff happened, and they started releasing information on it. Kind of like I feel a little. I guess it's a learning experience, but I want to know how it happened. I want to know. Just
It
how
would
to,
be nice to have those reports.
Yeah.
It can be, redacted to protect people's identities, but it would be nice to see how it happened.
I don't need the intern's name.
And I guess they recently changed their terms of service now.
Yeah, that's one of the things. Like, always turn like those things into a learning experience. I remember there was one breach. It was a long time ago, and the malicious actor got in and actually changed the group policies, and that was what. And of course, after that, it propagates throughout the network, and they pretty much just got everything. But then, like that, and like I said, this was a really long time ago. But after that, it was like, oh, yeah, we should probably watch those closer. And ever since then, been setting up alerts anytime any group policies change or anything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Take those as learning examples and build alerts, test it yourself, see what happens. If you can, exploit that specific thing yourself.
Yeah.
Was the Toyota breach a breach of Toyota? Was it like a supply chain breach that led into getting to Toyota? Because it seems like most of these big companies, it's not the big company itself. It's like a vendor or a contractor they use.
The Medusa ransomware group? Oh. It got in through Citrix Bleed.
Oh, yeah. That was a pretty recent exploit found, wasn't it?
Yep. Enabling attackers to retrieve sensitive information and hijack user sessions. Ouch.
Patching.
Yep.
If you can't patch, take it offline.
It goes back to just do the basics.
Yep.
Do the basics.
It's not if, it's when.
Exactly. And I'm going to use that to segue into our segment that we can do. I guess we could do multiple times a year. No, well, not if we call it Christmas gifts. Only once a year if it's Christmas gifts. But some of the things that we have gotten as cybersecurity professionals, or we gifted, or some of the things we want. I think that'd be a fun little segment to do. And as we were talking about the basics, one of the like a really good stocking stuffer, and I know we've talked about it before on the show, is the Blue Team Handbook by Don Murdoch. Pretty cheap or inexpensive book to pick up online, wherever you get your books, but just great information in there.
The one's got the easy to run in the front. Yep.
Yeah, he's got the Trojan horse on the front. Yeah.
Boots on the ground. Look at what do you need to do to get started in cybersecurity, or what your job looks like, or what you should be looking at as far as your job. That's a great book. Like, there's a lot of places, or a lot of talk about cybersecurity and what it is, but as far as a blue team, like, oh, I need to get my logs set up, I need to get this set up, or whatever. It's kind of like a great handbook for cybersecurity from a blue team perspective.
What's nice about it is, I remember the first time that I went to set up alerts and logging and stuff like that, I wanted everything. Like, every event that was out there, I wanted to log it. And you get into that trap, and then all of a sudden, it's very expensive to try to archive all that data, but now you've got too much information. So just stick with what he's got outlined in the book, and that's going to be a really great beginning point for any logging events or sysmon or anything like that you have going in your Windows environment.
But if I cut back on my events, how's Splunk going to make money?
You got to cut back on 10% of events because we're not paying that 10% increase.
Yeah, and I like that you mentioned that because when you're sitting there thinking I need to log stuff, you're like, oh, what if this? Oh, what if this? What if this? And then this kind of spells it out. Like, this will tell you what you need to know. It helps, like, keep you from being overwhelmed.
Well, what do you guys have on your wish list?
Well, since you mentioned books, I've got a couple of recommendations for your blue team social engineer folks. A couple of books by Michael Easter. Scarcity Brain is his newest, and before that was The Comfort Crisis. And they're actually kind of framed as self-help books, but he goes into behavior analysis, including things like gambling and why apps are so addictive, and even into why we eat as much as we do when we don't need to. And for your cybersecurity perspective, this is how you learn people's motivations and how to use those motivations to get them to do the things that they need to do, like patch their systems.
So I've got two things on my list, and they're actually things that I've recently picked up. So one would be a lockpick set. I don't know why I needed another one, but I seen this set and I really liked it, so that's what happened. So I would say that's always a neat thing if somebody doesn't have one. And then
you can't have too many, right? There's always more locks to pick.
Absolutely. You're going to break stuff and wear them out. And then a book I've been reading. This is How They Tell Me the World Ends by Nicole Perloff. It's about the digital arms race, and it's a really interesting book. So those two things would be on my list if I didn't already procure them for myself.
I've seen some comments about that book. I definitely like to check that one out.
It is on my shelf right now. Like, I think you mentioned it earlier this year and I bought it and I have not read it yet.
Put it on my shelf.
I display it like I read it. Like, look at all these book trophies I have here. I'm so intelligent. No, I just buy books too quickly. It's like video games. Like, every time there's a Steam sale, you just load up on Steam games and you just look at the backlog. You're like, sorry, I'll get around to it one day. And you never will.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Like, one of the things I got myself last year was an e-reader.
Yeah.
Because of books on shelves take up a lot of room, and having recently moved, they also suck to move. So I just started loading all my books on my e-reader, or buying the ebook version and loading them all on that, and I love it. I love it because unlike reading it on like an iPad or anything with internet access or other apps, there's no distractions. It's just the book. And so like that, it works great for my tendency to get caught up and think, oh, I need to look this up. Random thoughts that go through your head. It's just great to help me focus and actually finish reading.
That's a great point, because that's one of the things that, so even whenever PDFs, iPad, like all that kind of stuff, that I was like, all right, I'm just gonna read it, I'm gonna save the shelf space. And you're absolutely right. I'll be reading like a tech manual or something like that, and it's like, well, you can do this with this. Then I open up the internet browser and there goes my reading. So
Yep.
Yeah, like sometimes I'll be reading and I'll be thinking of something, or it'll trigger me thinking of something, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna look into that, and and now it's like I can't. I'm like, Well, I have to get up and go do this, so I'll just try to remember it later.
Oh, you know what? Actually, that reminds me of another thing that I bought it for myself, but I'm really enjoying it, and it's a Hack the Box Academy. So it's $8. Well, I'm on the student plan, so it's $8 a month, and it's they gamify it a little bit. So you go in and you do some things, and you get like cubes. I'm not super familiar with the system yet, but you get cubes for completing the task, and then those cubes can be used to like unlock other courses, and it's a lot of fun, and it's all within the browser. I mean, there's some things that I'm getting to a point now to where they want me to install a VPN so I can get in and be on the protected network and all that kind of stuff. But highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun.
I'm always leery of those things, but I have, I'll run, like before when I was doing like some stuff, I would just run a Tails instance and work through that when I was doing. Is it like how, like I don't necessarily dig the idea of connecting in to somebody else's on a trust me, it's us kind of thing, but assuming that they have.
Yeah, I haven't actually got I've got to the point now, like I said, I'm very new to it, so but I got to the point now to where it's like, we need to set up a VPN, and I'm like, all right, let me get a isolated virtual machine going, and I'll do it that way. But it's pretty impressive. And it's so one of the things that you mentioned is like the distractions. For me, I need either some way to block the distractions or to motivate me, and the fact that I'm paying money for this every month, that motivates me. So
yeah, it's almost a compulsion.
So that's one of the reasons why we got rid of satellite television, is because I felt like I was paying for it, so I have to use it. And yeah, but it's not that way with any of the streaming media services.
Yeah, this kind of relates to what Tony was talking about with behavioral gambling, and what you're talking about with the compulsion or whatever. I recently I've been on an extended break from doing Duolingo because they've adopted this AI-driven approach to learning or whatever, and it's all designed to get you to stay in the app and keep doing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happens, I have to check out because I can't handle that kind of compulsion type activity. I can't. I'm aware that I can get drawn into that, so I had to check out. And it's something that really bums me out because I've really enjoyed using Duolingo to casually try to learn a language. But now that they've introduced all these little things to try to keep you going, it really kind of hurt my progress because it felt like I was only going in to complete this, check that box, as opposed to actually learning or focusing on the language.
That's interesting. I'm gonna have to read the books that Tony recommended, and then we can diagnose you.
Yeah, he actually touches on how the gamification of everything can be traced back towards the move in the school systems towards using grades instead of just judging people on what they learn. So yeah, he draws basically a dotted line from that moment to what Ben just experienced.
See, I told my mom and dad that school sucked. Now who's laughing? Nobody is.
It's like
I get credit if I laugh. I mean, what's the point?
All right. Well, we talked about breaches and Toyota and DNA and Christmas gifts and psychology and Yeah.
The cold march to death.
Yep.
Well, we really appreciate everybody sticking around and listening to us. I hope you'll join us for next episode. Until then, this is Jason.
This has been.
Jonathan.
And Tony.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
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 Ooh, ooh, ooh.